Oh my God, you guys, come in here, sit down and shut the door. The prosecution has recommended Diddy for 135 months in prison. Y'all, that's almost 11 years. You guys, if you don't know, Diddy's sentencing day is October 3rd on Friday. You know your girl's gonna be covering it. Let's get into this, because remember when I said the pre-sentencing report? Remember when I said the pre-sentencing report is it's the fair version of how much time they think Diddy can get. Now, let me tell y'all something, okay? There was a lot of misinformation going around, and I don't care, because those broke bums needed to pay their bills. However, when it comes to the fact of who lied, who said this, who said that, I said the pre-sentencing report is the number one thing to show that what we heard, what we experienced in court, you, me, they, them, her, bodies, what we experienced in court was evidence that the jury just said, we don't care. Again, it wasn't that Diddy didn't do all these horrible things. It's the fact that jury said, we don't care. We don't think that's punishable for a RICO. We don't care. That's basically what the jury was saying. However, the pre-sentencing report came out. That's through the Office of Probate. We're about to get into this article, and you know it's bad because TMZ posted that like, damn, bro. Now, the pre-sentencing report comes from the probation department, not the prosecution. The probation department looks at things as neutral. From a neutral standpoint. They say, yeah. Y'all say he's the innocent angel. You doing too much. But then they turn to the prosecution and say, y'all think he's the devil incarnate. Y'all doing too much. They look at the facts. They look at all the evidence. They look at witness statements. They look at character statements, both for and against Diddy. So Diddy's ragtag team of, in my opinion, immoral people, because who would co-sign on an abuser, right? Ragtag team of perceived immoral idiots that wrote in all those character references. The probation department actually looks at that too. And the probation department says, right. Okay. And they look at all the evidence and they say, okay, this is what we think is fair based off of all the evidence. The evidence those pro-Diddy pages didn't want you to hear. The evidence that the pro-Diddy pages said didn't exist. The evidence that the pro-Diddy said everybody was lying except for Diddy's camp, the man on thing. Okay? Now, like I said, you can beat the system, but you never beat the law. When I saw that the probation department had issued a pre-sentencing report recommended between 5 years and 7 years and 3 months, 87 months, I said, the prosecution is going to come out swinging. Remember when I said that based off the language that the prosecution used in the last memo, when he was denied bail, saying and they're like, let him go. What's the problem? Diddy's team was like, they lied. They all lied. And the prosecution said when he was asking for bail for the umpteenth time, we think he should be denied bail because we are going to ask for a significant departure. Something so big that when he knows how much we're recommending, he going to run. He's going to try to run. Okay? Now, remember when there were reports on TMZ, when there were reports on all these Diddy fan pages, when there were reports, it's like, oh my God, the government only suggested 24 months, so he ain't going to get nothing. And I said, that's impossible based off of the government's language. And this is before we even got this or the pre-sentencing report. This was months ago. She lying. It ain't going to be that much. My boy coming home. He coming home. Well, guess what? That 4th of July party came and went. The bail hearing came and went. That mofo's still sitting where he should be sitting, doing figure eights, trying to figure out how he gonna get his kingdom back, talking about trying to make us feel guilty because his grown children still need him to support them. Again, no shade, but Diddy doing free game classes in jail, put you up on game or put you down with game to teach you how to be an entrepreneur. Are you letting your kids join Skype? Because I don't know if daddy gonna come home anytime soon. Now, that said, let me say this, okay? I hope Judge Aaron does what I think is right. Again, nothing in this trial has been normal. That jury decision, if you were sitting in the courtroom and you heard that evidence, that jury decision was not normal. But yet and still, we live in the United States and we must abide by the laws. But that jury decision was not normal, okay? It looks like the prosecution is saying, baby, we're going to get you on the back end. And it looks like the pre-sentencing report by the probation officer is saying, baby, get him. They holding the door open saying, he right here, go ahead and get him. You guys, let's get into this report. I have the documents. I'm going to go live to actually read the documents. We'll have a little key if you guys still want to have a pregame key on what's going on with Diddy. But listen to this. And again, just because the prosecution is urging 11 years, it doesn't mean Diddy's going to get 11 years. Nobody knows. Judge Aaron might let him just go with time served, but based off of the way he's been such a hard line on giving Diddy anything he wants, and he's the one that denied bail 2 times and said he is a violent criminal, I don't know. I tend to think that Judge Aaron is going to rule somewhere in between that pre-sentencing report. Okay, so here's what TMZ is saying. Federal prosecutors are full steam ahead to lock up Diddy, asking a judge to sentence him to more than 11 years in prison following his conviction on prostitution charges. In a new court filing, prosecutors say they want at least 135 months imprisonment, along with a $500K fine. Now, Judge Aaron is set to hand down Diddy's sentence on Friday in New York, concrete jungle where things are made. Okay, I'll stop. The hip-hop mogul is currently facing a max of 20 years in prison after being found guilty on 2 counts of transporting male prostitutes across state lines, where they engaged in freak-offs that became the centerpiece of this criminal trial. Prosecutors say Diddy's crimes are serious and note similar cases have led to sentences of more than 10 years for defendants who, like him, use violence to put others at fear. They argue that a lengthy prison sentence is needed because Diddy is unrepentant, claiming he admitted to violence and abuse during the trial, but now argues his victims should shoulder the blame. Prosecutors accuse Diddy of trying to recast decades of abuse as mutually toxic relationships, adding, but there is nothing mutual about a relationship where one person holds all the power and the other ends up bloodied and bruised. They say his sentence should reflect the substantial psychological, emotional, and physical damage he has inflicted. And let me tell y'all something from their lips to God's ears, because I don't care what none of these broke, morally decrepit, just just rotted soul people have to say. Let me just tell y'all something. You know what the craziest thing was? If Diddy was broke, and when I say broke, I mean like if Diddy had no money and he had no fame, half of these channels wouldn't even open their mouth to care. Because at the end of the day, it's not the fact that they're for Diddy. It's the fact that they on their knees begging, ready to open their mouths and say, for a penny in their pockets and to get next to clout. But at the end of the day, I don't think it's pro-Diddy. I think it's anti-woman. I don't think it's pro-Diddy. I think they're pro-abuse. I don't think they're pro-Diddy. I think they're pro-debauchery. And hopefully their little pathetic lives that everybody in their private told them they ain't going to be, you can't live like that. They're hoping they can finally get it mainstream approved that that's what we're doing. At least that's my philosophy. Anyway, you guys, listen, I'm going to be going live in about an hour. If you listening to this, make sure you lock in. And if not, because again, there's so many witnesses' statements. There's so much to go through. Baby, let's do this. But in the meantime, I really do have to ask you, do you think the prosecution went too far? I don't. I think they did what needed to be done. But that said, I'm going to expand these thoughts in the thing because I also have some thoughts on what's been going on in the background with the Diddy derelicts. Anyway, you guys, let me know what you think in the comments. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.